Welcome to the Coliving with PadSplit Podcast, where we talk to successful PadSplit investors and have them share their secrets to success, not only in PadSplit, but in other facets of real estate. This podcast will help you expedite your learning to be a successful investor in the co-living space. We are your hosts, Ray and Orianna Nunez. Show us some love by subscribing and sharing so we can continue to bring on amazing guests.
Hello and welcome to the Coliving with PadSplit Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Nunez, and
Orianna Nunez with you.
And today's guest, we have Mr. Jeff Weller. He's the owner and CEO of Coast to Coast Mortgage, as well as a host that has 92 doors on PadSplit as of today. We're going to be discussing not just how he got into PadSplit, but how he's been able to expand the different exit strategies he has: short-term rental, mid-term rental, long-term rental, and where he's heading in, as well as the different mortgages that he has through his company that will help you increase your portfolio utilizing PadSplit loans. So, brother, we just came from an event. It's hot outside. It's a typical Central Florida spring, and you spoke at a panel event of ours. How's your experience? How did you like it?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I always love being at events like that. It kind of just builds you up and reminds you why you're doing this. Especially when you get to teach others and to share from what you have done and what you have learned, and to be able to impart that upon other people who are trying to get involved and trying to learn what you have already been through. It's always great to be able to go through those experiences and to relate those experiences and to help others.
Yep. Fully agree with that. We got into real estate going through those events in Central Florida. Who was it? Robin Thompson was the one that was roaming around and teaching people. What was it? She the queen?
Wholesaling.
The
we
queen?
know wholesaling.
Yep. So if it wasn't for that, I'd still be working at Verizon.
Wow.
So full circle bit. And I like to educate. I think that's kind of one of my passions, is to educate people so that they can expedite their process, as opposed to starting real estate at 27, how I started. In 36 now, there's people doing it a lot sooner. I see them at 16, 17, 18, and a lot further along. So wish I heard you back when I was 17, 18.
Even though it's never late.
No, not at all.
Starting and doing the actions is what really counts.
So, brother, you are Mr. Jeff Weller. And
tell us about you. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I started in real estate when I was young. I guess I was 24, and I am double that now. I just turned 48 last Sunday. So I'm an old man now.
Oh, you're not.
You're not.
And so I started out slowly investing in real estate back in, with early 2000s.
What was your first strategy?
I didn't really have a strategy when I started. I mean, I bought a house for me to live in.
Okay.
And it was a pool home, and I bought it from a wholesaler. I mean, it was a flipper. I bought it from a flipper. Mm-hmm. And I just bought it for me to live in. And I remember back in the day, I bought it for $89,000, house in Jacksonville, 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool home. And I thought, man, this is expensive, $89,000 for a house for me to live in. But, back then in the early 2000s, I mean, the dollar went a lot, was a lot different than it is now. I mean, now 89,000 is like nothing now. But back then, 9.5% was my rate to start out, and I was happy to get it, because back in 2001 or whatever, I think it was 2000 or 2001, rates were, the rates were like 10%, 11%. So getting 9.5%, I was like, ooh,
I'm winning.
Oh yeah, I got a single digit
good
rate,
deal.
right? And so I remember that the values were starting to go up at the time. Rates were coming down. And I think 2002 or 2003, rates had dropped to like 6.875 or something like that. It dropped really, really dropped down. And I was all excited because I was able to refinance it to a 15-year loan at 6.875. And I went from a 30-year at 9.5 to a 6.875, and my payment actually went down.
Wow.
I was like, whoa. I just dropped 15 years off my loan. My payment went down. This is amazing. Right. So I was learning the mortgage game at the time. I was a loan officer at a bank, closing tons of loans, learning the process, thinking that I really know a lot about this industry. And so I ended up buying another house. I moved into the new house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this a rental now. So I have this house that's paying the balance down, way down, way down, way down. So I paid like $40,000 or $50,000 on the balance down on this. And about 2004, I ended up selling the house, and when I sold it, I had like $150,000 in equity. I'm like, wow, what am I going to do with all this money?
Wow.
So at that point, I was just doing tons of mortgages as a loan officer and doing really well. And I'm like, I'm going to start flipping houses. So I start flipping houses. I start flipping a lot of houses. I'm like, this is great. It's 2004, 2005, flipping house after house after house. And the money's just coming in.
This is all in Jacksonville.
It's all in Jacksonville. And the money's just coming in. And I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. This is great. And, 2006 comes, 2007 comes, and it's like, it's slowing down a little bit, but hey, I'm still flipping houses after houses after houses. And then 2008 comes, and then all of a sudden it really starts slowing down. Then I'm like, okay, this is not going like it used to. Okay. I'm still doing mortgages though. I'm a broker at the time. And all of a sudden it's like, these banks are closing. Can't sell these things anymore.
Scary.
Yeah. So what do I do now? So at that point I decided that, okay, I can't sell these things anymore. All these banks are closing, and it looks like the U.S. economy is about to collapse. So now what? So I put renters in all of them, and that started my real estate portfolio. Instead of having just like one rental or two, it just became a big portfolio. Right. And so the good news is I know a lot of people really got hurt. And I was fortunate. I did not get hurt during that time. So I didn't have a foreclosure. I didn't have a short sale. Thank goodness. So I was very lucky because, so many good people really got hurt during that time because they got totally caught off guard.
Right.
And so many really good people got hurt during that time, lost houses. And so anybody who wasn't in the real estate game at that time or didn't have a house at that time or maybe didn't invest at that time just does not understand what really went on during that time. People, the whole market was just amazing at the time and everything was going great. Then all of a sudden just overnight almost collapsed. And it was people could kind of predict it was going to happen at some point, but the market was going so well, you just didn't know when it was going to happen. But it's just literally like overnight, boom. Financing was here, financing is gone, right. Like overnight. And so that was when the market collapsed, and we all know what happened with the mortgage meltdown. And so that's when my investment portfolio really started.
Well, you saw the signs and you pivot right on time.
You had to pivot, and you had to pivot fast. And that's what real estate's about, seeing the signs and learning to adapt and learning to pivot. And so, I continued investing. I didn't really flip for a while after that, but I did start investing more, probably around 2010, 2011, I started buying again because I was like, the market kept going down, and you can buy in any market as long as you buy right. But I kind of took a break from buying because I had all these houses that I wasn't planning on keeping. So I was just making sure they were rented, making sure they were maintained, and I was just learning how to have this portfolio of houses. So around 2011, I was like, I think the market is close to the bottom. I'm going to start buying again. So I started buying again, and one of my good friends, I don't know if I should say a name and plug somebody, but one of my good friends, John Denise, he approached me about a house, a really good deal on a house, and he was wholesaling it, and he wanted the deal himself, but the real estate market was so bad back then. He was like, look, Jeff, I got a couple flips going on, and I don't really have time for this one, but this is a good deal. He's like, if you want it, I'll just give it to you for $4,000. He said, but this guy,
a house for $4,000.
Well, the deal,
assignment.
the assignment for $4,000.
Okay. I was like, hold on.
Well, it's not, the deal's not much, not much worse than that. The deal's better than that. It's close. But this house was in, you'll probably recognize the zip code, 32210.
Okay.
So you'll know where that is.
Yeah.
And this house it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. In 32210, and the seller wanted $35,000 for the house. And if you know that zip code, it's a good zip code. And I talked to the seller, and basically he wanted somebody to take over his mortgage, subject to. His mortgage was right at $19,800, and he just wanted $15,000 more on top of that. And so John introduced me to him, and we just started talking. And I said, he really wanted the cash. He actually wanted $10,000 cash. And I said, well, in lieu of $10,000 cash, what if we just do a private mortgage for $15,000? Would that work? And he's like, well, how long would it take you to pay it? I said, well, how long do you want? 10 years? He's like, well, if you'll do minimum payments, 10 years, what interest rate? I said, 6%. Like, you'll do minimum payments for 6% for 10 years? I said, yeah. Deal.
Wow.
So basically I had no money down.
And that was your first creative finance
That was my first
deal.
creative finance deal, subject to. So I closed it in a land trust. John basically introduced me to it. I bought a course at the time because I had to learn about it. So a guy from Atlanta named Don DeRosa had a course back then on buying land, using land trusts to do subject twos. And so I bought that course and learned all about it and bought his trust program and did the trust and recorded it. And I found out later, as I'm doing the paperwork, that the $19,000 loan that the seller had 3.5 years of term left on it.
Oh.
So every payment was like 99% principal. So the 3.5 year loan, I basically paid it off. I really paid it off in like a year and a half.
Right, and nothing. It was way better.
Yeah. And I found out from talking to the tenant, the reason why he wanted to sell the house was because the tenant that was living there hadn't paid rent in like 6 months. And he couldn't get her out. And
bleeding.
And they were fighting between the two of them, and they were calling each other names back and forth, and they were different races, so they were calling each other racists and racial names and things of that nature. And I just talked to the tenant and I said, hey, I realize you guys have had your differences. What is preventing you from moving? I see you have boxes here. What's stopping you from moving? And she said, well, I just don't have the money for the moving truck. I said, well, okay, I realize times are tough right now. Do you have a place to go? And she's like, yeah, I do. I'm moving with my family. I just can't afford a moving truck. And I said, if I help you get a moving truck, do you have people to help you move? She said, I do. I have everything but the money for the truck. I said, do you have people that could help you this weekend? She said, yeah. I said, if I pay for your truck, can you have some people help you this weekend? She said, yes. I said, let's go down. I'll pay cash for the truck.
That's what it took.
That's what it took. She moved out that weekend. It cost me like $600. Mm-hmm. She moved out that weekend. It was that easy.
It was that easy.
Yeah. It was that easy. And he had a problem for 6 months, couldn't get her out. And you know what? Because I helped her, she cleaned up the house. It was like spick and span clean when she moved out. Mm-hmm. She took care of the place. Mm-hmm. It's just that he didn't communicate with her. Mm-hmm. That's all it was. And he was rude to her. Anyway, I think it was, I paid off that loan in like a year and a half. And he was so impressed that he got paid off early that he actually called me and said, hey, do you mind just paying off the second mortgage too? So I'm like, sure. So I paid off the second mortgage. So like a year and a half later, I had this house free and clear. Wow. $35,000 house.
It's a good feeling.
And by the way, it was rented out the whole time for like $1,200 a month.
Oh, wow.
So that was like my first creative financing deal in 2011. Bought at the bottom market. And all of a sudden I had this cash flowing asset for $1,200 a month with no mortgage. The real estate taxes on it were literally like $400 a year. And the insurance at the time was like $800 a year. Now, granted, the insurance is now a little bit higher, but it was profit of like $1,000 a month. Yeah. Easy peasy. Now, today that house is a PadSplit. So I've kept it this whole time. And, this is now it's just a cash king PadSplit bringing in $4,000 a month. Yeah. It's only a 5-room PadSplit, but as a 5-room PadSplit with no mortgage, it's a cash king. Yeah.
That's the one a couple houses down from ours?
It's a different one. That one is on a road called Mitford.
Okay. Yep, no Mitford.
Yeah. So that's that one.
So talking about pivoting, when was that moment that you realized that pivoting in some of these houses was ideal? From long-term, short-term to PadSplit?
Well, I think the writing was on the wall in 2022 with Airbnb. Mm-hmm. I had went into Airbnb. I had went into business with someone else, Mark Marcellus, in I think 2015 with Airbnb. That was our first experiment. And then 2019, I started getting more heavy into Airbnb because I was pivoting from long-term rentals into Airbnb and just dabbling into it. Mark had showed me that it was proof of concept that it was working. And so he was renting some of my houses from me long-term, and he was getting Airbnb money and Airbnb returns. And I'm like, man, he's doing really good with this. I've got to try this myself.
He was arbitraging.
Yeah, he was arbitraging them, and he was making more money than I was. I'm like, dang it, Mark, you're so smart. Why don't I do this? So I'm like, well, you know what? Why don't I just do this? I'll just set my houses up. You manage them. That way I can make the money you're making. You can still make money managing them. So it was smart. It worked out good. So he started managing them for a while. And anyway, so that was my pivot. I let him manage them and do all the stuff so I didn't fool with it. I'm all about letting other people do the work and then I just collect the money.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my pivot. So, but in 2022, as you know, the saturation was really setting in for Airbnb. So if you just had a regular house, it wasn't going to do as well as they used to.
Right.
And so that's when I started pivoting. And that's where I was so glad that I met you guys. because my property manager that I have now, Alan had reached out to me about a house that I'd bought, and he said, Jeff, this would be the perfect pad split for you, because I had never even bought this house. I had bought a wholesaled house from the Cash Geeks, and I hadn't had a chance to walk it yet. They had called me. There was like 7 days left on the contract. And they're like, hey, Jeff, we got this house. It's a fire sale. And I said, you mean it's been on fire? They're like, no. They're like, the seller, the buyer fell through on the deal. And they're like, we just need you to, if you're interested, we'll give it to you like almost at our cost. We just need to dump it. It's a great house. If you buy it, we'll just give it to you like $3,000 over what we had under contract for. Will you buy it? And I'm like, well, can I see it? And they're like, no, we got to close on it in like 5, 6, 7 days, something like that. It's a good deal, I promise. It's worth like $250 fixed up, and we'll give it to you for like $115. I'm like, wow, it's kind of hard to screw that one up. Okay, it's 2,000 square foot. Oh, wow. Okay. So I was like, I did all the math, and I'm like, man, if it needs everything, if it needs torn down, it'd probably be worth it. It's like, it's hard to mess that up. So I went ahead and bought it, sight unseen. And anyhow, the deal just made sense. So I went ahead and bought it. And then Alan went and looked at the house, and he called me. He's like, Jeff, this is the perfect pad split. And I had never heard of what pad split was at the time.
You're like, what is that?
Exactly. What is it? And so he introduced me to what pad split was. And then I think that was on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And I hadn't been to Jack's Ria in a while. And then I went to Jack's Ria that Thursday, and you were there. Mm-hmm. I was like, sweet. So I got to talk to you guys. Mm-hmm. And then you said, well, hey, I'll be in town tomorrow. Why don't I come look at it with you? And so you went and looked at it. And so at the time I was thinking, okay, well, hey, this will be like, maybe a 5 or 6 room house. And then you like gave me the idea to make it an 8 room house. And so, that's one of my best performing pad splits now. So that kind of is what helped me to pivot in 2022 into the pad split marketplace. And so by then I started transitioning other Airbnbs that were not doing well, because I had like 6 or 7 Airbnbs that were not doing well at all. In 2022 is like it was going up, and then 2022 hit, and then all of a sudden Airbnbs were going like down fast. Mm. So that's when I started pivoting from the Airbnb market.
Everybody bought an Airbnb.
Yes.
Right? It was the best investment.
Yeah, that's what everybody thought, because rates were great in 2020, 2021.
Right.
And then the market changed on the interest rates for second homes in 2022. So the rates just went terrible for vacation homes. And because the vacation home rates went from primary residence rates to investment property rates for second homes. And so now people the rates are just, horrible to buy, 10% down second homes. So that really changed the investment strategy for so many people. So anyhow, that's why I transitioned into the pad split model, and it's been amazing ever since. So I ended up transitioning a lot of my portfolio into the pad split model and converted a lot of my Airbnbs. And since then, as people have moved out of my long-term rentals, I look at the house and I'm like, how many bedrooms can I make this? Can I make this at least a 6-room house? Because most of my long-term rentals I've had for a while, so they're at 4%.
Beautiful.
3%.
Beautiful.
Can I make then it makes sense if it's a 4-bedroom to make it a 5-bedroom pad split, because hey, it's at 3% and it's a $120,000 loan. It makes sense as a 4-bedroom as a pad split, even, but preferably a 5, but so it makes sense to convert those. So now I'm just making that decision on some of these. Obviously you want to have a 5 or a 6 if you can. But I have one right now that's a 3-room pad split because it makes sense. It's a duplex. But when I get the other side, empty, then it'll be a total of 6 rooms. So I can't wait for that to happen. But just try to convert as many as I can at this point.
The 3-bedroom, was it a 2-1 originally?
It was a 2-1 originally, yes. But it's just too small to make it a 4. I think it's like 800 square foot.
We walked it. It was a little narrow in the front. So 1 bedroom, and then you have the other 2. And the one in the front, I believe, is like a living room.
Yeah.
I remember this one.
Yep. It was like one of the last things we did that day in Jackson, then we drove back. So ultimate cheat code for people is conversion, I think. My opinion on people who have been able to expand quickly have been people who've had either long-term buy and holds or had short-term rentals and converted them into pad splits. Ultimately, it's very easy for you to look at and say, hey, these are my numbers. These are the facts that I have. And then what could it potentially make as a pad split? And then see what that difference is. If it's a positive, then no brainer. So I remember our initial phone conversation, we talked for like an hour, and I was like, yeah, I got 62 I have 62 Airbnbs, and I'd like to talk about converting some of those. And so you've kind of ran off. So where are you now with your pad splits? How many units do you have? And in what direction are you headed moving forward? Because you're going to run out of properties to convert at some point. What does that look like?
Well, right now I'm at 92 doors on PadSplit.
That's amazing, Jeff.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It took me 14 months to get there. Airbnbs, it wasn't 62 houses, but I think I have 13 Airbnbs at this moment. Mm-hmm. Long-term rentals, it's a lot more. I have a lot more long-term rentals. So I think that might be where you were thinking of.
Yeah, it might have been a combination of the two.
Yeah. But overall, there were probably around 100, total houses or so, a little over that, I think. So I'm not going to run out for a while. The number of houses I have
them, okay?
on PadSplit, I think the number of houses I have are like 15 on PadSplit right now, 14, 15, maybe 16. But I'm constantly buying. I typically buy 10 to 15 houses a year, and I'm closing on 2 this week. So I'm always buying houses. I don't usually flip houses very often, but I'm actually going to be flipping one before too long. We're flipping 2 of them actually, but I usually flip maybe 2 houses a year.
Got it.
But I tend to buy 10 to 15 a year. So I might start buying more. Let's see. Just all depends on how the market goes. Yeah. You just got to make decisions based on what the market looks
trends,
like. Yeah, market trends.
And you still have a diversified portfolio, which is something that we don't currently have, as we are so bullish with PadSplit, and we will start diversifying in the future. So how is your portfolio performing with having such a good variety of different strategies?
Well, I think you do need to keep a variety. I like all of the above. The one thing I don't like about the short-term rental, the Airbnbs, is the tax side of it. Your taxes are a lot worse than they are with PadSplit. You've got 30% or so when you're looking at the taxes, and you're looking at 20% on management if you're paying for a manager. So it feels like half your money goes somewhere else and not in your pocket.
Right.
Although you can make more with Airbnb than PadSplit, but by the time you subtract out the taxes, unless you have a $1 million oceanfront property, you're probably not going to make more. If you got something in the mountains, then yeah, you might make more in that case. But you've really got to spend money on those houses. Where with a PadSplit, depending upon where you buy, you might have a $200,000 to a $400,000 house, and you can crush it. With an Airbnb to crush it, you might need a $600,000 to $1 million house to crush it. Yep. So you have a lot higher of a lot higher of a risk, just in case it doesn't make it. Well, now what are you going to do?
Right.
Now you got to sell this house in a harder to sell economy, and you're going to be carrying these $6,000 mortgage payments versus this house on PadSplit that you're going to carry a $2,000 mortgage payment. Look at the cost risk ratio.
And it's harder for a new investor to acquire that $1 million home versus, a rental property or PadSplit. So entry level acquisition for an investor that doesn't have a lot of diversified portfolio, or they're just starting, is a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
In order for you to succeed. Because I do believe Airbnb is phenomenal, but like you mentioned, you do need to be by the beach, in the mountain, next to the volcano. It has to be so specific and so unique, because it doesn't cut it anymore for you to just have a regular home.
I never thought of buying one near a volcano.
I'm saying it because of Guatemala. There's homes near the volcano, but never mind.
I get it completely. You need to be near like a Disney or
Correct.
something like that, where you're going to get a constant draw.
It has to be something very unique.
For your current Airbnbs, how are they performing now? Because I know that the ones that weren't performing so well, you chose to convert those into PadSplits. Yeah. You do have good performing properties out in Jacksonville, right?
Yes. Our pool homes are doing very well. And I will say heated pool homes. Mm-hmm. You have to have a pool heater in Florida, surprisingly, because, like September till March or even early April, if you don't have a pool heater, people don't want to rent it. So, because it's just too cold. It's still too cold to swim. You might have some people from Maine or New York that come down that are okay with it being cold. But most of the people, if they jump in that water and if it's below 80 degrees, they're going to complain. So you need to crank that heater up to 90 degrees in the winter months. Otherwise, they don't want it. So have a heated pool or have a hot tub. We have a house on a really cool lake that does well. People love to go there and go fishing. We have pictures of people that have caught bass in that lake.
Awesome.
And so that one does really well. Surprisingly, our beach house doesn't do as well as it used to. So there's a lot of saturation at the beach. So if you have a big house at the beach, it'll do well. Ours is a little bit smaller, so it doesn't do as good there. But our pool homes are bigger. They're like 5 and 6 bedroom pool homes, and they do pretty well. So those are the ones doing well. Surprisingly, we have houses in Mandarin that do very well. They're like 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses in Mandarin that do rent very well on Airbnb. And I wouldn't think that they would do so well, but they do very well. And we've been doing a lot of midterm rentals with those too, where they'll rent for, $5,000, $6,000 a month for 3, 4, 5 months at a time. And so that's been a big market for us. We'll put them on Furnish Finder, and then boom, we'll get like 4, 5, 6 months at a time on those.
Awesome.
And it's like, okay, great. I don't got to worry about this one for 4 or 5 more months. And I just got one just yesterday for 4 months on a Mandarin house. Beautiful. It's like, sweet.
Love that. So I want to go into a little bit about what you do with your pad splits and what makes your portfolio successful for new hosts that are out there looking at us and you for some form of advice. So what makes your pad splits perform? I remember when because you keep adding. Since you keep adding, I see your account go from 80 to 90, then it drops as you add more properties, and then it keeps creeping back up. So you have a good
occupancy.
product.
Yeah.
So what do you do at your pad splits, and how do you pad split?
Well, you mean what perks do I put in the properties?
Photos, perks. Well, there's a nice little badge thing that you do. I always get consistently, Ray, how do I get that badge on my photo? And I go, that's not a badge, that's a photo edit.
Yeah.
That's what didn't do that.
Yeah. So I don't want anybody to steal my red triangle.
Yeah, no.
If you put a triangle, make it a different color. I've trademarked the red triangle in Jacksonville. You can do a blue one, a yellow one, or a green one. I don't care, but the red one's mine. But I put a red triangle on my pictures that say
trademark it.
It's a trademark. Yes, I've already put in for a trademark. No, but I have a little red triangle on the pictures. Basically, it's just to catch your eye. I mean, you could put a circle or something different, whatever, so that way you don't look like it's mine. But if you search for rooms in Jacksonville, you'll see like a little red triangle, and that means it's one of my rooms. And I just put like all rooms include a Roku TV, smart TV, or if it has a mini fridge, I'll put like a mini fridge in the caption, or a smart lock or whatever. But that just catches your eye. And the whole point of it is you're scrolling through and all of a sudden, wait, what's this red triangle? What is this? And then you read it, you stop and you look at that one, and then you're going to click on it. And it just basically just draws your attention to that photo. So that way you're just not scrolling through pictures. You're like, oh, what's this? And it's like, just like any other advertisement you have, if you have something that draws your attention to it, you're going to stop and look. And I've seen some other people put in the description like Superhost or, something of that nature. You just want something different that catches your eye. Or maybe you have, maybe somebody needs something with transportation and you put a bus in your listing, so whatever it is that draws attention, just be different. And so that's, and you've recommended that. And so just whatever you can do to draw attention to your main photo is what you want to do to get people to click on it. And now they start looking through it. Now they see a room. So the other thing that we do is we've had videos, like you can click on it, and you can see the whole property, but we also have a layout of the entire house so that you can see exactly where your room is compared to where everything in the house is. So like where the entrance of the house is compared to where your room is. You can see from the edit if you've got a private entrance. You can see where the kitchen is compared to your room, where the restroom is compared to your room. Maybe you don't want to be next to the restroom because you don't want to smell the restroom. Yep. Maybe you do want to be near the restroom because you have a small bladder. Yep. Or maybe you get hungry often and you want to have your snacks and you want to be near the kitchen.
Right.
So you can kind of position, hey, I want room 1 or I want room 4, or hey, room 6 is upstairs. I don't want that room. I don't want to go up and downstairs all the time. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see where you're at on the sketch. And so, we have that on there. And so those are big selling tools in my opinion, because if I was wanting to rent something on a 6-month or 9-month window, I'd want to know exactly where it is. Mm-hmm. I have fallen down a flight of stairs before and gotten hurt. I don't want to rent a room upstairs.
Right.
I'd rather rent a room downstairs.
Agreed.
But somebody else might be like, well, hey, I've been in an apartment for my whole life and I don't want to be downstairs from somebody that's stomping their feet upstairs. Mm. So, it's all personal opinion as to what somebody wants. But if you show them what they're looking at, you give them the variety, the choice, you give them perfectly customization, they can choose exactly what they want. Give them options. The other things we do is we provide TVs in our rooms. If they get a suite, we'll put a bigger TV in their suite, but we put a TV in every single room. And when we do that, we actually do put insulation in the walls. We want a sound dampening material because we want it to be quieter. If somebody cranks the TV volume up, we don't want it to disturb everybody else. So we do put a special insulation in the walls to block out that sound. Any new walls that we install, we put that in there. It doesn't cost that much money, but it blocks out the sound and makes it more enjoyable for everybody else.
Right.
We wall mount all of the TVs. We make sure it goes into studs because you don't want it to fall off and hurt somebody. We actually do, when it is in a wall, we do put an outlet behind the TV. We don't want cords dangling down. So try to, unless you have plaster walls, try to move it up. We do put small desks with a very small footprint in every room with a chair. I know the people on the camera can't really see, but it's a very small footprint. Well, probably like the size of this as far as width, and just big enough that you can put a chair underneath it. And that way they have another chair they can sit in addition to the bed. They're just not always sitting on the bed. They've got another choice. And we have a 5-room PadSplit that's coming live next week. And not that I want to put couches in rooms, but we have this really cool design in this room. These 2 of the rooms in this 5-room house they're like 10 foot wide by 17 foot long.
Wow.
And we could have made it a 6-room house, but we were just like, you know what, we could do that, but let's just make this freaking cool 5-room house.
Yeah, I like that.
And so what we did was we put this like little half wall in the middle. So there's going to be like a futon with a TV here, and then over there's like the half wall here, and over there's going to be the bed and the desk and a chair.
Nice.
So it's like having 2 rooms for the individual. So I think we're going to charge a little more, maybe like a $249 for that one, and we're going to put a mini fridge in there as well. It won't have its own private bathroom, but it's going to be a very, very cool room, and there's going to be 2 rooms identical like that. So I want to do a test run on that to see how that does.
I like that.
Because if that does well, then guess what? The next house, we're going to do it again.
Yeah, and that's a different product.
Yeah.
You're going to be standing yourself outside of everyone else's PadSplit.
Exactly. Always try new things. Right. And if it doesn't do well, then darn, we got 2 rooms that we could have done better on, and we'll try something different next time. And then we do try to put in mini fridges in rooms that are far away from the kitchen. Or, you don't necessarily have to do mini fridges, but when you look at the cost difference, if you've got a 7 or 8 room house, you don't really want to have 1 refrigerator. That's too little. Maybe have 2 refrigerators in the kitchen. But when you look at the cost difference of adding a $1,000, $1,500 fridge in the kitchen, you could put mini fridges in all of your rooms. Now, if you're going to rent a room, would you rather have a mini fridge in your own room or 2 refrigerators in the kitchen where somebody can steal your beer?
Mini fridge.
Mini fridge.
Yep.
So buy a mini fridge on sale for $129 and get 7 of them.
We get them at Costco when they're like $100.
Yeah,
and they're the nice size.
Yeah, and when BJ's has them, I like to go to BJ's. BJ's has the 2-door, the top door, bottom door. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite because they don't freeze up. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the single door ones will freeze up, and you got to take them outside and let them thaw out. And the 2-door ones do not freeze up. Yeah. So if you ever see those are definitely the ones you want to get if you can. And when BJ's has them on sale, they're $99.
We get ours from Costco, and they're the 2 doors too for that exact same reason.
Yeah, when they have them, they're always sold out when I go there. So
we got them from Black Friday weekend, and we grabbed like 20.
Yeah.
And we were crazy people with like 4 cars, and everybody was looking at us like, what are they doing?
With the pillows.
That was us. But yeah, we took advantage of the special for sure.
But I do love the logic, and it comes from experience where, hey, my refrigerator, my mini fridge is freezing over, and I have to take it outside, and I have to let it defrost. And I'm like, I didn't have logic behind the fact that I bought this other than this is a more premium mini fridge, and I'm getting it from Costco, and I know that at Target it costs a lot more for the single ones. Mm-hmm. But it's also good validation hearing it from you and then hearing the logic behind it. Very similar to having the mirror in the bedroom where, hey, that can decongest the bathroom so that people can go into their room a lot faster. Yeah.
And even if you buy just the cheap little 1 foot wide, 4 foot long, $7 mirrors at Walmart. Mm-hmm. Even if you buy that, just put, a screw in the top, screw in the bottom, and 2 on the sides, put it on the wall permanently. If nothing else, you can check your hair. If a lady needs to do her makeup or a guy, whatever, now in today's world, anybody can do their makeup, I guess. But, you know, you check your
Check your
clothes,
outfit,
check your outfit, check your face,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. You can brush your teeth in the kitchen if you have to, but at least you can get prepared to start your day.
That's right.
And if the bathrooms are taken, you know, are occupied, then you have a way to get ready.
Yep.
You know, $7.
I agree.
You know, I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Why wouldn't you? I have a interesting one. Jeff, how do you manage being a father, running a successful mortgage business, and having such a large portfolio?
I don't know.
And it's not just, I came to the same question sort of in another way. I was going to kind of segue into it and say, you do long-term, you do midterm, you do co-living, which is
short
different.
term, long term, fix and flip.
And sometimes you flip. How do you do it? And what else do you do outside of that? And of course, mortgages.
Yeah. And how do you manage? Because it takes something for you to be this successful. We want to learn. I want you to share with us. Whatever this is, just.
Is there a mantra? Is there a morning routine? Is it a book?
Well, I haven't slept since 2009. No.
Stand in a closet and just wait till people wake up.
It's the Cuban coffee, you know. No, reality, it's delegation, delegating responsibility, and having an amazing team. In reality, just having an amazing team of people around you. When it comes to anything you do, like I have property managers that manage my properties. Joanne has been amazing with helping me with the Airbnbs and managing the short-term rentals and the midterm rentals. Alan has been great at managing some of the pad splits and the long-term rentals. When it comes to the mortgages, I have 2 other owners that have helped run the mortgage company. When it comes to being, you know, like a loan officer, I have 2 loan partners that help write the loans. I still write a lot of them myself. I have 3 loan processors that help process the loans. You know, like on a day like today when new leads come in, you know, I have somebody who's helping to take those calls and take those leads. We've recently invested in an artificial intelligence software that if you go to the website, it will answer your questions. And, you know, I don't know if I want to divulge all the information on that.
Yeah,
but
you don't have to.
But it answers questions like a human. You wouldn't even know that that it's not a human talking to you. I mean, it even has spelling errors sometimes, so that you know that you think that it's a human. And when it gets to a question that you doesn't know the answer to, it directs you directly to somebody else and puts you on a calendar for a phone call. So it's all about having other people assist you and help you so that you don't have to do it all yourself. And that's what I've realized, that you can't do it all yourself. You have to be able to have other people help you. I try my best to stop working at 6 o'clock at night. Every once in a while I'll be 6:30, but I try not to work past 6 o'clock just because I want to have a family life. You know, I want to be able to turn off the phone, turn off the clock, turn off the computer, and just stop. And I will say I do work on Saturday, Sunday for about 4 hours. And that's just not because I have to. I like to see the houses. And so that's just kind of like it brings me joy. So I like Saturday morning, I like to go look at houses. And I get up, you know, like 7 or 8 o'clock and start my morning routine. And I like to go to my first house about 9 o'clock. And I just kind of want to, you know, it just makes me happy and giddy. You know, I like to see the progress. It's just fun. So I'll go and I'll look at 2 or 3 houses on Saturday morning, or maybe I'll go look at buying one. But when it comes to like managing the projects, because, you know, we're doing rehabs, I have a project manager. His name's Christian, and Christian will give me status updates. He'll send me videos of what's going on, and he'll give me updates. And he actually finds houses for me. He'll find a house. He'll go and look at it. He'll give me the rehab budget, and so he'll be like, here's a deal that I found. Here's the purchase price. You can call and negotiate it, see if you can get a better deal. The rehab's going to be about $50,000. Here's what it needs. Here's a breakdown of it. Here's what I think the after market value is. Go ahead and do your own due diligence. Let me know if you want to buy it. Here's the guy's number that's got it for sale. And he's like on all the wholesalers' lists. And he's just trying to find his next project.
Right.
But he wants to make sure it's a home run for me, because if it's not a home run for me, then he's not going to get another project.
Yep.
Right.
But he's been amazing about that. You know, like we're under contract right now on one that it's a home run. I mean, he brought me the deal. Should I describe the deal on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a house that's right next to one of our other pad splits. That's an amazing pad split. It's 2 blocks over. He brought me the deal. It's this house that's on almost 1 acre. It's a $140,000 purchase price. It's going to become a 7-2 pad split. It needs about a $60,000 renovation. The purchase price is $140,000. The after repair value of the entire property is approximately $350,000. So we're going to be all in.
Hint at $320,000. So beautiful.
Well, about $350,000 actually. And the thing is, I had my appraiser look at the details. This overlooks the Trout River. Wow. And he said that if we break off this piece of land here, that this will still be in the 300 range. Wow. Okay. This piece here will be about 50,000. So we can actually build new construction right here. Mm-hmm. So we can actually build a pad split here for about 180. Wow. And then that one will be worth about 300.
Wow.
And we can build that with pretty much no money out of pocket because the land is worth about 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like a buy one, get one.
It was a bug.
Love it.
And my contractor brought me that, my project manager.
Love it.
So it's like win-win. And all I had to do was drive there and look at it once and make a phone call to the wholesaler. And we were under contract the same day.
You're like, this is a nice view of the river.
I
I'll
know,
buy it.
right? So it's like wonderful. So it's like, you got to, I love my contractor for that. And he's excited because, he gave me the bid and I know he's making money on top of, what the work is. I mean, the work and the materials is probably, 45, right? And he's making, probably 15 or so for managing the project and overseeing it, right? And that's good. I want him to make money, and he deserves it because he brought me the job, he brought me the deal. And so he deserves to make his money on it. And you know what? If he told me it was 65, I'd be like, okay, no problem, because I know he's looking out for me as well, and I'm going to make money on it anyway. Yep. And so there is a level of trust there that you have, and I know he's trying to do good. And there's been houses that he's brought me where the rehab will be 70, and then as we're going through it, we find other things that are wrong, and then he'll find a way to cut it back and bring it down to 65 anyway. When I tell him it's tight on a deal, he'll find a way to bring the cost down. So it's all about that relationship that you have with people. Right. And then there's other deals where, when things are a little bit looser and you give them a bonus, because you can on that house.
That's right.
So it's a give and take thing. So how do you bring it all together? You have an amazing team, and I work with him and he handles the staff. I don't have to go and hire this guy and hire that guy. I mean, he knows when we need a roof, here's my licensed roofer. When we need a licensed plumber, here's my licensed plumber. Here's my licensed electrician. He's got all of these people. He knows these guys can pull their permits, right? But he's running the job. He's running the job. He knows when to call this guy. He knows when to call this guy. These guys know when to call for the permit inspections. So all of these guys know when to do whatever, and he just manages the job. He makes sure everything is done at the right time. It's all managed properly. And then while he's doing all that, he's going and picking up materials and dropping it off. He's got my Lowe's card, my Home Depot card. He manages all of that, drops it off for the workers, manages the workers, does the payroll for all of them. I write him one check and he distributes all the money to them all. And it's just perfect. But it's delegation, delegating it all. And I literally have to write one check a week.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I'd be remiss to not bring this up because clearly Coast to Coast Mortgage. Tell us about your PadSplit loans and the other loans you have, because you obviously provide and do a lot of transactions and help other PadSplit hosts fulfill their dreams by lending on their properties. And everything doesn't fall under, hey, I'm going to go buy this house and it's going to be a perfect BRRRR type property where I'm going to use hard money, bridge loan, and jump into a DSCR and do a cash out refi and put walls up. Sometimes you might want to buy it off the marketplace. Sometimes you might want to go ahead and get a DSCR and you're buying it right off the market. Tell us a little bit about it so that our viewers can know what you have.
Okay. So the DSCR product is a great product to buy PadSplits with, but not all DSCR loans are created equal. Mm-hmm. When you do a loan for a PadSplit, you can't just go to any DSCR lender and get a loan that'll work on a PadSplit. Yep. I'm not saying you can't go to a regular DSCR lender. There are some that will find a way to get it done. There are a lot of good loan officers out there. But you want to make sure that they understand what a PadSplit is. And not all loan officers out there do. So make sure when you are working with one, they know what it is. Because I've had so many people say that we were working with our loan officer, we got all the way to a week before closing, and the deal fell through because the appraisal had this problem and the underwriter didn't like the property and it got turned down. And we lost our $5,000 binder. And that's the last thing you want. So you got to make sure that they understand it. So the programs that we have worked with several different investors to make sure they understand it, make sure they like the program. We're actually adding on 2 more investors right now that have went through the process of approving the program. And this program is kind of unique because I want to explain why DSCR loans are unique, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please do.
The reason why so many investor lenders do not like PadSplit loans is because most lenders, when they close these loans, they have to sell these loans. Most lenders out there are called correspondent lenders. They have to sell these loans off of their credit lines within 120 days of closing these loans. Some other big investor on Wall Street will buy these loans in a portfolio, and then they keep them. Okay, and that's the big companies like Fay Servicing, ShellPoint, SLS. Those are the types of BSI. Those are the companies that tend to buy these mortgages, or insurance companies. And so when they get these loans, if they don't approve of PadSplit, they could send that loan back to that company that did the loan and say, hey, look, we don't like this. We didn't approve of you doing this. We want you to buy this loan back. Now, if they got to buy this loan back, it is flagged as a scratch and dent loan. Scratch and dent loans go back on their line of credit, and it's flagged as a scratch and dent loan. So now they're going to be selling it on the scratch and dent market at about 60 cents on the dollar. Ooh. So imagine having a $400,000 loan that you have to sell at 60% of $400,000. You're selling it at what, $240,000 now?
Yeah.
If that's the math is correct, I think. So you got to sell that loan for $160,000 loss.
Yeah, that's.
And when they sold that loan originally, they sold it for maybe a $4,000 profit. So they had to get that $4,000 profit back, and now they're selling it for $160,000 loss. How many of those loans did they do? Did they do 20 of them, 50 of them, 100 of them? So that's why a lot of DSCR lenders don't want to do these loans. They have to make sure that the loan is something their investor has an appetite for and that they're willing to do. And that's why we don't want to just do these loans with just any investor or just any lender. And that's why we don't want to do these loans with a lender not knowing what the product is.
Correct.
We want to make sure the lender understands what they're buying, understands what they're closing, and we're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes. Okay? So we've worked partnerships out with certain investors that understand what the product is, that we've been upfront with them. We've showed them appraisals. This is what it is. This is a 10-room house. It's got 5 bedrooms, 5 closets. There's 10 people sleeping in this house. PadSplit has 1 lease on this property, but 10 different individuals, 10 members are sleeping in this house. We want you to understand that. And so we've gone through this process with several lenders. And there's been several lenders in the past that have done these that have decided to exit, the arena. But we have lenders now that are comfortable with it, that are closing these loans. And so those are the ones we partner with. And so that's why it's critical to work with somebody who does understand it, because otherwise you could have your loan go all the way to the closing table and then they pull the funding on you, and you don't want that. And so it's critical to know that, you don't want to put that lender in a bad situation either, because if this lender does 20 loans and they have to buy them all back, you literally could be putting a company out of business. And maybe 100 employees out of business. Who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. So the way we have worked out these programs, the programs we have now, we can typically do 20% down on a purchase. If you're doing a refinance, maybe you did a hard money or a cash purchase, you renovated it, you can do cash out refinance to 75%. The way we qualify the income is very similar to a DSCR loan. We're going to do one of 3 options. We can use long-term rent, as if it was rented to a family on a 12-month lease. Okay, we're looking at the cash flow the property is going to generate. We're not looking at tax returns or W-2s or anything like that. We're just looking at, hey, if you rent this house out to a family and the market rent is $2,000 a month, will your total mortgage payment be less than $2,000 a month? If so, if it cash flows by $1, you're good. We'll close the loan. Okay. Assuming, 640 credit or above, right? The other option is we have one investor that is okay on a purchase, or if you've rehabbed it within the last 60 days, then they're okay using Airbnb's income. So they'll compare it to short, because they consider this a rental less than 12 months of rent. So they will consider it short-term rental. So they will use short-term rental income. So AirDNA is a website that looks at what short-term rental income is. They aggregate information from Airbnb and VRBO.
Right.
And they will use 80% of AirDNA's income. So we can look up AirDNA's income and calculate what 80% of that income is for the year. And what I love about that program is I can tell you, I can underwrite the file before you're even under contract. You give me the address 123 Main Street, I can look it up and I can say, okay, the income on this property is $100,000 a year. I'm going to subtract the 20% haircut for expenses. We're going to use $80,000 a year for the income. Okay, that is, and whatever that number is, $6,600 a month. As long as your mortgage payment is less than $6,600 a month, you qualify.
You're good to go.
You're good to go.
Is there a minimum requirement of occupancy for that Airbnb comp?
That specific program does not have a minimum occupancy.
Fantastic.
We got that removed. It used to be 50%. We got it removed.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. The third option, there's actually 4 options. The third option, if you're buying a PadSplit from the PadSplit marketplace, and it has been,
PadSplit.
if it's been on the PadSplit marketplace and it's been rented for 12 months on the PadSplit marketplace, we have a person we can contact at PadSplit that can provide us a PadSplit statement that says this is the rent that we have been generating. Remember I called you last week?
Months.
Yes.
You had that handled?
I got it handled, yes. So I have a PadSplit statement now. I can call in and get it. And I can provide that statement to our lender. Our lender approved it last week for the first time. And so we can use that statement now saying this is the income the property generated. And now we can use that to qualify it. And then last but not least, we do have a product. It's a little bit higher of a rate, but we do have a product that is no income, no debt service coverage ratio, no nothing. It's just basically you got a heartbeat, you got a 650 credit score, you got 25% down, you close.
Sounds like 2007.
Well, it's 25% down. And now that program is very unique in the fact that it does allow a seller-held second mortgage to 90% financing. Okay. So it's very unique, or a private money second. It is a little bit, I will say this though, I mean, they do have an appraisal process. They want to make sure that there's no illegally room additions. And what I mean by room additions is that you didn't take a carport that was not an existing room, not an existing fixture on the house that was not heated and cooled before, and you enclose that. And now it's a room on the house. Okay. They don't care about moving walls around inside the house and adding walls inside the house. But you had a screened-in room. Now you've enclosed that. And now you've added air conditioning and heat to it. They don't want to add that in the value of the home. So don't do that, and you're okay. And if you do that, permit it. If you permit it, we'll count it. But that specific investor does not like that. But other than that, they are good. The main thing they're looking for is make sure the appraised value is good. Make sure you do have the 25% down payment. And other than that, they do want to see a copy of the lease agreement with PadSplit, that you're going to have a lease with PadSplit, or a letter stating that is what your intention is to rent it on PadSplit.
And I'll throw in there one last thing. You didn't mention it. If you're going to do a room conversion, do not put closets in the living room. Do not put closets in more than 5 of the rooms in the house, because then that's technically a bedroom. And if it's a bedroom, then they're going to have to try to find comps.
Yes.
If you have way too many bedrooms, you're not going to find a comparable in your neighborhood or within miles. And so that's going to act as counter to you trying to get a loan.
Absolutely. Yeah. The maximum the majority of these lenders want to see is 6. But I actually stick with what you're saying. I actually agree with 5, because you can usually find comps with 5 bedrooms. Once you get to 6, it gets very hard to find 6-bedroom comps. So I agree with you at 5. I would stop at 5. When I convert my houses, I never do more than 5. The people who do 10-bedroom houses, bad idea. I mean, if you do 10, that's fine to do a 10-room house, but don't do 10 bedrooms. Don't put that closet in there. Put wardrobes in there. You know, wardrobes are great. Yep. You know, I mean, I get my wardrobes at IKEA. You know, we have a furniture guy named Paul that can get wardrobes for you all day long.
Paul's
that's great.
VIP, sorry. Can't share. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Paul has plenty of them. So, but, you know, get whoever you want. But, you know, IKEA has great wardrobes between $99 and $149. Just make sure you got 2 muscle men that can carry them, because they'll break your back. I've tried doing it by myself. Oh, my God, those things are heavy.
Someone to build it.
They're like 200 pounds and 3 hours of labor. So if you can get a guy named Paul or somebody like that can bring it to you, that's even better. It saves your back. Yeah. But I do recommend, if you have heavy furniture like that, to bolt it to the wall, because the last thing you want is it to fall on somebody. And one other thing I will say is, walk your property and look for ways that somebody could get hurt, and make sure you eliminate those ways. Mm-hmm. You don't want a crack in your driveway where somebody could trip. You don't want a low hanging, you don't want anything that somebody could get hurt, because, if somebody can get hurt, just assume that somebody will. You want to limit any kind of risk that you could have. You don't want somebody tripping and getting hurt, falling, getting hurt. You want a handrail on your steps, on your front and back porch. Just think about it, that somebody's going to be moving into this house that may not have lived on their own. Make sure you've got lights on the outside of your house. I recommend outside cameras, not inside, but outside cameras, just for protection. Just think about it. If you lived here, what would you want? And just think about the safety of other people, and what can you do to make it a safe environment for everyone? Because you don't know if that person that's moving in is going to have, a cane, or maybe they've had an injury in the past. Maybe they have a difficulty walking. So just think about, that you don't know who's going to live there. Just think about their safety, and that you want them to be safe and healthy.
I agree. I've actually rented rooms before myself, and they were very thoughtful of all those things. So I try to apply the same things for our properties, and I think there's still so much that we can continue to improve. And something that I learned from one of our Airbnb hosts, he actually spends the weekend in his Airbnb before he goes live to test the entire property. So if his family comes over, and they will test everything.
That's a great idea.
They stay over the weekend, right? And then that's when he realizes this needs to be tweaked. This needs to be improved. This needs to be reinforced, or we did not add this. Not saying for us to stay at our passwords if we don't need to, but think of it all, right? Because you're going to save so much time on the back end when you're actually operationally functioning and everything that comes into play.
That's a great idea, because I have noticed that when you finish rehabbing a house, if you don't check everything, you'll notice, oh, hey, there's no hot water in this bathroom for some reason. And all it is somebody forgot to turn the hot water valve on.
Pressure in the shower all the time in our properties. We saw that repeatedly.
Yeah.
Something simple.
Yeah, and you might save 4 or 5 service calls that are $100 a piece.
That's right.
Or this ceiling fan squeaks because it wasn't mounted tight enough. Or just numerous things. Yep. Yeah.
I agree.
The washer and dryer wasn't, they didn't turn the water on the washer and dryer, so it didn't work.
We got those calls already.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. It's definitely to have a checklist and go through everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Do a full run test on your property before. It'll save you so much time and money on the end.
Make sure your air conditioning filter's in there.
Yeah.
Oh, and have some replacements too.
Yes.
So I do want to get to obviously mention, how do people get in contact with you? How, if I want to get a loan, or if I want to have some form of advice, or if I am, what are you looking for? Where are you heading in business? What, if someone's watching this video, would like to reach you, what are you doing, and how can they get in touch with you?
Okay. So one of the easiest ways to reach me is my office line is 904-500-LOAN. So 904-500-5626. Another easy way to reach me is PadSplitLoans.com. And there is a calendar link there, so you can jump on my calendar. If my calendar is booked out too far, I have a couple of assistants, and you can go on their calendar. All of my assistants are licensed loan originators. They understand the PadSplit product. They understand hard money. They understand fix and flip lending. They even have a background in private lending for unsecured loans, helping you to get down payment money, that kind of thing, if you have a business. So our website, PadSplitLoans.com, can help you out with all that.
Love it. What are you most excited about right now? What's something that has you really excited right now?
Oh, boy.
Or coming soon?
Well, I think just being able to do a new construction project is something that has me excited right now. And, I think just breaking the 100 room mark has me excited, because I don't know how many people that have 100 rooms yet, right. But I know it's not many.
It's not many.
And I want to join that 100 room club.
I love it.
And I'm getting really close to that.
You are getting close.
Oh, super close.
We might be able to get something special. I can't say stuff, but we'll get something for you.
Like a button.
So
a pin.
Someone got a video from Mark Cuban before.
When he crossed over 100. Well, PadSplit's figuring stuff out.
Yeah,
ultimately.
we're working on something internally for those that have reached over 100. So
I was thinking like a box of donuts or something. But
No.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take a phone call.
A box of donuts. Jeff, it's a pleasure having you here. One last thing, what is your advice to somebody that is trying to do not just real estate? You're trying to become successful in whatever avenue, outlet, industry that you're choosing. What is the advice that you would give to that person that is starting, that needs a little bit of that push and guidance from an experienced person that has succeeded and failed and tried again and, succeeded again?
Well, realistically, the I think the best advice I can give is just do it. If you're going to fail, you're always going to fail. You're going to fail more than you succeed. But if you just don't do anything, you're never going to succeed. If you look at anybody who succeeded in life, they've failed so many times before they succeeded once. Yep. So you've just got to do it. You've got to just make the drive. You just got to do it. And so, that's it. You just got to do it. You just can't be afraid to take action. Just take action. Get involved. If you're in the real estate game, get involved with other real estate investors. Find other people doing what you want to do that are doing it better than you're doing it, and learn from them. Most people in the real estate game are happy to share what they've learned. They're happy to share their knowledge with you if you just ask. Most people are happy to boast about what they do, and just learn from what they do, and then as you're starting to do it, be that person that does the best you can, and then find a way to fire yourself and delegate to somebody else what you're not good at so that you can do what you're good at. And that way you can continue to grow and grow and grow. You don't want to be doing the exact same thing over and over and over again forever, because you'll never grow to the next level. Mm-hmm. You always want to find a way to delegate what you're not good at to somebody else, and then improve to something else, even though it might be putting yourself in an uncomfortable position.
To delegate, to feel like you won't do the job better than you will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's hard to do that. It's so hard to do that. Somebody else can't do what I do. I'm the best at what I do. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? If you're the best at what you do, you're always going to be doing what you do.
Yep.
Always going to do it.
Good piece of advice. Well, brother, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time. We look forward to all your successes, obviously, and we'll cheer you past 100. We'll see if you hit the 200 mark next. But
thank you. And thank you very much for helping me to get to 100, because without you guys, I could have never gotten there.
It's an honor to have you here, and we'll join you at the $100 club soon enough.
$100 unit.
$100 door
club.
$100 door club. Sorry.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate your time. We'll see you at the next one. Peace. Thanks for tuning into the Coliving with PadSplit podcast, hosted by Ray and Orianna Nunez. For more exclusive content and community updates, join our Facebook group and follow us on all social media platforms. Stay tuned for more episodes.